We are from industry. We come from manufacturing. Our team does. We work with manufacturers every day, and we think like manufacturers do. And as the state's leading premier industrial consultant, we're focused on helping manufacturers in Nevada grow. And let's just go over our vision and mission quickly. So I'll just read through our vision, which is the NVIE is out to increase the contribution of manufacturing in Nevada's economy through advanced solutions and connecting companies to the right people, the right resources, and the right expertise. And our mission is to deliver comprehensive proven solutions, fueling growth and advancing Nevada industry. So I'm not going to read through each of our core values there, but one of the ones that I really wanted to focus on today is commitment to excellence. So that one there says operational and an individual excellence, holding self and others accountable. You know, that's important to us, right? You know, the fact that we work with manufacturers who are striving every day to improve their processes in order to improve their business, to grow sales, to grow their markets, grow their employee base. You know, NVIE is thinking that way as well. We act like a business. We function like a business in order to help our clients also think in a direction as well. So we're grateful for the opportunity to spend this time with you today. And just on the next slide, I want to show you real quick the MEP network. This is our network in Nevada. So go back one slide there, Sean. So our network in Nevada, we cover the whole state. And what's great about that is, as you guys know, Nevada is a state that has two major population centers in north and south, but NVIE is here for the whole state, which is good for us and it's good for the state. So we have team members in the north, we have team members in the south, we have leadership in both areas. We collaborate together to help manufacturers out regardless of where they are in Nevada. So that's our team. Give us a shout if there's anything on your mind, if you have any questions about manufacturing. We're here to help you, whether it's leading into a question, introducing you to somebody, or actually coming into your business and helping you get it to the next level. Next slide, Sean. And then we're part of this larger team. So this is a nationwide team. Every state has an MEP center. We are the MEP center for Nevada. And what's great about this is we do operate like a team at this level. We work very closely with the other centers as well as the headquarters in Washington, D.C., to really look at manufacturing holistically in the country and what we need to do to advance it in the whole country as well as our individual regions. So we have a lot of support. So if we can't answer the question directly, we've got a deep bench that can. So utilize us, and we are more than happy to help you out in all areas of your business. Thanks,
Fantastic.
Sean.
Thanks so much, Tom. Really appreciate that introduction. Again, as I mentioned, our speaker today is Mary Arbutina. Mary began as a consulting partner working with NDI as a consulting partner in 2002, helping us with lean projects. Mary then joined Nevada Industry Excellence full-time as a project manager in 2004 and has been working to help clients across the state improve their operations. Mary, thanks so much for joining us today. We're so excited to have you talk to us about Lean for the Office.
Well, thank you very much for the introduction, Sean. I'm very excited about the Lean journey. If you go to the next slide, we talk about what is Lean in the office. And Lean is a systematic approach to streamlining your business processes. And what we do is we eliminate waste and utilize lean techniques to do that. Our goals are classically lead time reduction, which means you get the job done in less time from start to finish. Productivity improvement is each of your individual people are able to get more done in the same amount of time. Quality improvement equates to fewer mistakes. I think everybody has had a mistake at one time or another in their process because the paperwork told them to do that. And we talk about how to improve that. And most importantly is we're much more customer focused. And that's both internal and external client. The people that you finish your work for, and did you complete what they needed? Next slide. How did I get to Lean for the office? And it was really a crisis. I was working with a production manager and he told me he was not doing any more changes on his floor until I got the paperwork from the office straight. That's where his problem was. So that's where it came from. Dr. Michael Hammer, I think, says it very well. In America today, we have good people, but they're working in poor processes, and we want those good people working in great processes. Next slide. The waste. These are the wastes that we're trying to get rid of. And the ones most important for the office are defects, because once there's a mistake made, it seems to just, computers do a great job of proliferating our mistakes. Overproduction, some, but waiting. How often are people waiting for something that someone else doesn't even know they're waiting for? Non-utilized talent. I think it's very important that we're able to use the talents of people, and we talk about how to find out what those hidden talents are. Transportation can be a problem, but inventory often in the office. And I think of inventory as simply the items that we keep in our desks, how much do we keep in our computer, and how do we manage that easily. Motion, of course, the amount of time it takes to move things back and forth, and extra processing. How much added work are you doing that nobody's seeing any value for it? Next slide. Our chief tool is value stream mapping. I personally really love it. When I do them, I like to use the lanes where we literally draw out what the process for the job is, and we break it up into the departments, because in the office area, oftentimes those are very different managers and they need to have control of changes taking place in their workplace. You can't just take a CFO and suddenly make a change that doesn't meet accounting standards or something of that sort. So it's important, probably more important in the office than it is on the production floor, to keep track of who is in charge of each department. Next slide. Now, when we're actually putting together our value stream map, this is more what it looks like in reality. Everybody thinks it's going to fit on 2 nice pieces of paper, and then they find out everyone else has to do these huge extra things. They're always surprised about it. And in this case, it even went around the corner into the room, into the wall telephone. So it can look messy, but we clean it up nicely. Next slide. Again, value stream mapping can be used in a variety of different ways. I like the fact that it helps you identify where your problems are and helps you create an action plan. I think an action plan coming out of a full value stream map, which you do front to back before you make any changes, because oftentimes making a change at the beginning isn't necessary when you realize by the end, you know, oh, I don't even have to do that process, let alone clean it up. Next slide. Another tool we use so often is quality at the source, and training people, training them again. And then the third training, we're oftentimes having them show us how they do the job. It takes a little more time, but you find a lot of opportunities for improvement. So if somebody puts down, I need this product painted blue, well, that's nice, but your blue and my blue might be very different. So people need to know how to identify those things. Provide quality equipment for them to complete their tasks. If your people are all working in black and white and the final product is in color, they might be very surprised to see that. Provide your best equipment at the bottom end to get the best finished product. Clear instructions are just so important to achieve your goals. If your people don't understand what the results are of what they do, they don't understand how to resolve the problems. I recommend that you develop a feedback loop for improvement. So often people will make errors, and it's very easy to just fix that error yourself and go on. But what you really want to do is let them know what it is, not in a reprimand, but in an informational. This is why I want you to make this change. Surprisingly, reducing the number of reviews and inspections will also improve your quality. So often when somebody thinks 4 other people are going to look at this, they just scan it, don't really check it, and all 4 people do that. And so you end up with a lot more mistakes, because people should have an opinion that the moment they are putting out the product, that's the finished product. And acknowledge your quality people. Don't forget that letting other people know when people are doing a great job, it really helps. And people like to be told, hey, you did this one right. Next slide. And as we collaborate and work in the office environment, I know we use computers much more, but I haven't gotten great pictures of how big a stack of paper is. But it isn't unusual for a stack of paper that size to be needed just to finish one project. Next slide. Standard work. Standard work is used on the production floor, but it's really helpful in the office. What we're doing is we're trying to define, what do we do every cycle of work? And how do we do it? What is expected? Best practices fall under this. And what it does is it helps reduce variation. And reducing variation in your product makes it easier for the next user of the material. Imagine if you were a truck driver and every new location, the address came up in a new location on your output screen. Just very irritating. So if you can reduce those variations, you help people work more effectively. Next slide. Should you feel bad about enforcing organization? Some people ask that question. And next slide. I like to point out probably the most common organizational tool that we use is the parking lot. And we appreciate that parking lots will help everybody not hit each other. And if you, by comparison, use what's called festival parking lot, where there's just no lines and it's just a big dirt field, you probably can only get about 30 or 40% of the number of cars in place. So organization is something that actually people value. Next slide. 5S, which is a cleaning process and visual management. Just having an area where you can physically see what's going on. People can see if someone is really struggling, can make a big difference. So visual is very good. In this workplace, on the third shelf of the cabinet, which doesn't have doors so that people can see what needs to be done, is the books with the instructions on how to do things. So that oftentimes somebody will just take out the book and just kind of view, oh, I haven't done this in a week or two. Now, how are we doing this? So visual management is very important. Next slide. The 5 elements of cleaning, 5S program. Each word starts with S, and sort. And you'll notice that what's important is sort isn't when in doubt, throw it out. It's when in doubt, move it out. It's very important to respect the level at which each person needs things. Sorry about the telephone, folks. Set an order. Put things where they're visible, where you can see, especially in shared spaces, say around a printer or a copier, that all the tools are right there. And when you're done with it, you know where to put it. Shine. A cleaner workplace really helps people organize and understand that their output needs to be clean as well. But in order for a 5S program or a cleaning program to work, you have to have standards. You have to have best practices. You can't sustain it unless you have put a standardization in place. Because if people don't know what your company's standards are, you're not going to pass this piece of paper on until you do have the right Pantone number for the blue that you need, for instance. So it's very, very useful. And I find that 5S programs coming in a little bit later in the office versus the production floor is helpful. Next slide. Some of the things with 5S that help us is it helps you have a more quick, efficient way of working. Color coding makes things easier, output increases, and even just simple inventory management. Something as simple as at the copier, when you get down to the last ream of paper, that there's a note on the top of it that reminds you to tell a certain person to order a certain amount of paper, maybe even something that is laminated that can be taken to that person. So it really does help in the office. Next slide. Kaizen, a Japanese word. Continuous improvement is the way we look at it. Sometimes we look at a Kaizen as sort of an event, but really it's change for the good. So we're trying to put in place a process of continuously improving the workplace. And there's a bias for action. And I like the fact that some Japanese people from Hawaii pointed out the fact that the word is often used to define the first baby steps children take in learning how to walk. That they stand up, they fall down, and they get up again. And that's important when it comes to improvements, because sometimes you're going to put in place something that doesn't resonate. So the great thing with Kaizen is you make yet more changes to make it fit what you need. Next slide. Kaizens, I have used them in so many different areas, offices, payrolls, order consumables, accounts payable, accounts receivable, even in the waste control and prevention. What it comes down to is if you can do it, you can improve it. Next slide. Standardization. I really like this picture because as you do Kaizen improvements, it's very much like pushing a rock uphill. And the standards, what they do is they give you something that keeps you from rolling back downhill. And so standardization and putting together standards is so important. Next slide. But the office, we have reality here. Each of us, I look at each of you and I see your nice, decent looking backgrounds, but I don't know if this is what's forward facing with you. And it's very easy to get into these problems, but we do want to start working through it and helping employees understand that this isn't going to get the job done. Next slide. Some examples of some successes in the office. A company, Young Electric Sign Company, made some major changes. And the biggest change was that they were able to improve their cash flow by about 19 days. And any of you who are in charge of the money in your company, you just think, what if you had 19 days of extra cash to work with? Be quite an opportunity. Over at Public Restroom Company, Katie's group was able to make some changes. When they were a very tiny company, it was appropriate for all their production floor to know about every possible upcoming order. But as they've gotten large, they found out that they were spending hours sending emails about proposals to the production floor, only to have an hour later, some of those emails completely change, and the production floor was just getting inundated. The management just was getting all these emails and they're not getting them now. And instead they'll have one meeting where they will go over what the client finally wanted as the finished product. So it's just saved a lot of hours. And I just think about how many people that are getting 100 or 200 emails a day. And if you just stopped getting the ones that you were getting constant changes, how big of a difference. Next slide. Oftentimes people wonder, well, how can I look at the cost of my paperwork? Because my people are salaried and I don't really know. An example is 10 administrative staff members. As we've computerized, we have fewer of the lower level, so our prices have gone up. I would say $60,000 a year for a small company can sometimes happen if you include the CFO. And you look at the number of jobs you process. If you processed 4,000 that year, it's costing you $150 just to push paperwork for each one of those. Next slide. This is an actual project that was done by a former coworker up in Canada. And they were trying to process paperwork to get doctors into the country on visas. And they were to the point where it was taking 14 weeks to turn around the paperwork. And they had 1,100 files at any one point. And when they finished, each and every one of those doctors said, sorry, some other country, including the United States, had already scooped them up. So they went through a lean transformation. And next slide. A couple of months later, they were able to be down to 500 files, and they were shrinking. And they had about a 4-week lead time from the time somebody applied to the time they could give them an answer, and really improve their processes. So it's really great to be able to do that. This is an example of cross-training and keeping track of it. Who did you train to do what? And how good are they at it? Actually keeping a matrix of it is just an easy way to quickly realize, oh, I'm not moving this person ahead as much as I should, or really acknowledging which people can do the job well. But also a fourth one is, who's your best trainer in this area? Because oftentimes your best trainer for a job is not the person who does the job fastest. Oftentimes that's a different person who has the patience. I remember one time being trained by a very advanced person, and she could type so fast, the screen was just blinking in front of me, and I had no idea. And she said, "See how easy it is?" And that just didn't work. So identifying who can train is helpful as well. Next slide. Okay, a little bit different. Today is Earth Day, and of all things, I'm going to talk about ships and barnacles. About 20 years ago, it was realized that the drag on ships was costing us about $1.4 billion in the world in fuel for ships for moving all of our product around the world. That was about 40% of the fuel costs. Barnacles are just little things. They're under the water, so they're hidden. You don't see them. They're individually very insignificant. But next slide. If you take each barnacle off, it's sort of like eliminating waste. What they found was they were able to take ships one by one, take the barnacles off, put paint on the bottoms of them that keeps barnacles from reattaching, and you're slowly getting your ship moving faster and taking less fuel to move about. And so I like the analogy of that many times when you're cleaning up your office area, you might just ship a couple of barnacles off. Sometimes you might get a huge group, but otherwise you just keep working on it and also find ways to prevent the barnacles from coming back. Now the question is, how can we implement all of this work? Some of the things that I can do for you is a no-charge assessment. Thanks to the fact that we are part of the national program, NISMEP, and UNR, we can do assessments up to $500 at no charge to see what your problem is before we start putting solutions into actions. I am personally in Las Vegas, but I always like to travel anywhere within the state. I'm happy to do that. So I can do things on site or I can do them virtually, whatever works. And sometimes we do some blended work. Identify the opportunities and the best opportunities for your work. We have an upcoming workshop that will cover this in more detail, give you ways to solve your problems. And we can do anything from an individual item. We can value stream map an entire process, or you can go for a full lean transformation. Things you can do in the meantime is start looking at identifying your waste, eliminate it where possible, map your problem areas. Sometimes a good start on that. I've seen some people have some really good success. And track your failures. What kind of mistakes are you getting? Next slide. Now we open it up for questions.
Mary, thank you so much. Again, many of our clients, manufacturing clients, they're familiar with lean for manufacturing, eliminating waste, improving the processes. But I know they're quite as familiar with lean for the office and how you can improve those processes as well. So I'm so glad that you're able to share this information with our clients. And I also want to say thank you for offering that complimentary assessment. Again, with your level of experience, being able to go out and spend a couple of hours with a client, really very, very valuable. And I'm so happy that you're able to offer that to our webinar attendees today. So thank you. With that in mind, if a client, again, is interested in both lean for the office and then perhaps also assessing the manufacturing area, if you're going to come out to look at the office, would you be able to do a sort of a combined assessment for both the office and manufacturing?
Yes, that's the most fun because there's so much interaction. There are people that are working in both areas. I like somebody referred to it as the concrete versus the carpeting. And ideally, you can work in both locations and make sure that you're getting exactly what your finished customer wants.
Fantastic. And then typically, how long would this $500 value assessment take?
Including offsite work, anywhere from an hour to half a day. It's a matter of what the project is, but fortunately working within our program here at Nevada Industry Excellence, we're able to take the time and actually look at the problem before we go ahead and start charging our clients.
Fantastic. And then you mentioned the workshop. I'm super excited about that. Would that be next month or the month after? What's your estimated time frame for that yet?
Yes, we're going to have a 4-hour workshop. It's going to be June 17th, and it's going to be virtual and go through how to do this work in detail and have success.
Fantastic. I'm really excited to hear it's going to be virtual. As Tom mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, we cover the entire state. We've got project managers across the state. So I think, Mary, by having this virtual webinar workshop, it'll allow us to target our clients across the state, correct?
Yes, yes. And also, as we get into projects, if clients think on-site is the right way to do it, I'll be happy to join them. I'd also like to mention the fact that this isn't just for manufacturing, but I've also worked with UNLV. I've worked with construction companies and architecture companies to improve their processes. It pretty much works across the board for everyone.
Thanks, Mary. That was my next question.
Oh, no.
I was going to ask about some of the work you've done for other organizations, even the university.
Yes, yes. And so often just being able to give people the tools of being able to value stream map their own process, they oftentimes find that the biggest problem is there's a disconnect. Somebody, there isn't the hook to tell the next person what they're supposed to do. And it makes a huge difference, and it's a lot of fun.
Super. And then again, I know in a couple of past workshops we've hosted, we offered an early bird special for some of our clients that are really excited and they want to sign up right away. Will you be offering an early bird special as well for your workshop?
Yes, the workshop is limited to only 12 people because I really want each person to learn it. And the regular price is $199. Early bird is $149. And that's for the entire 4-hour session, as well as you'll be sent an email with some tools that you can use in the future.
Super. Thanks, Mary. I appreciate your offering that early bird special. And then if we have clients that go through the workshop and they feel like they just really need additional help on site implementing some of the things that are identified in the workshop, would you then be able to work with them one-on-one to help them perhaps implement some of the wasteful steps that they identify in the workshop, in the online workshop?
I'll be more than happy to. And now that my daughter is a college student, I can travel anywhere in the state and assist people. And I'm excited about doing it. Also, if somebody's a pretty good sized group and they want a workshop just for their organization, that can be done. They'll organize that through their project manager.
Fantastic. Thanks for mentioning that as well, Mary, because we do have some larger clients here in this state. And I know you've worked in those group settings. You helped one of my clients here locally train at their office here in manufacturing facility. So thanks for mentioning that as well. At this point, I'm going to open it up to our webinar attendees, and Linda Schoen, again, as I mentioned, has been monitoring the chat room. Linda, have we had any questions come in via the chat room?
Yes, we have a couple. The first one is, how would you go about tracking office processes before and after, since there's little transparency into each step processing paperwork?
That's where the value stream map is one of the tools that we use, because you have a complete picture of your existing process. And then we develop the change that would be needed for the second. Also looking at the financial, if you've got 10 people and one retires and you're still able to get the same or more amount of work out, you can also look at where your savings is there.
And we have another question. Will Lean in the Office help me transfer tribal knowledge into known processes for new and existing employees?
Tribal knowledge. That's where one person knows something and they teach it to someone else, but there's no record of it. I need to know. I worked with an engineering group, structural engineers, and they found out when they value stream mapped that they weren't even, some of their technicians were using processes that weren't even necessary. So the stamping engineers were ending up getting things they didn't want. And it's just been it was an opportunity for them to document what the structural engineers wanted, so that the people preparing the documents for them could actually prepare what was wanted, instead of having a 3 and 4 time turnaround. They were getting it to the point where half of the work was done perfectly the first time, which 50% on a production floor sounds terrible. But when you think about something being rejected 3 and 4 times, which isn't unusual for paperwork, it makes a huge difference.
That's all for the questions.
All right, thanks, Linda. Mary, just one final question. if anyone listening on the webinar today, or perhaps other clients that reach out to us about this upcoming workshop, if they'd like to talk to you a little bit about who they should send to this workshop, would you be able to do that, to give them some guidance about who would really see the most benefit out of in their organization, would benefit from signing up for that workshop?
Yes, I have found that having most everybody within the organization who works with information can benefit from the workshop. Anywhere from the CEO, the CFO, down to shipping clerks, they can oftentimes effectively communicate with one another to be excited about improvements. So it's definitely matched up that everyone can get a great deal of information from it.
Thanks, Mary. As a matter of fact, I've gone through some of your lean training, and I can vouch for that. There's quite often a wide variety of employees, and it seems like the more input you get from those various employees, the more benefit that they receive from the process. Linda, did you have another question come through?
Yes, I did. Will Lean in the Office help me develop KPIs for the office team on document flow and efficiency?
Yes. In case somebody doesn't know, KPIs are key performance indicators, and it helps you to be able to say, okay, person A knows how to do this much and they're able to do work. And being able to identify who are the people really getting the work done and really getting the work done right is very useful in a workplace. So putting together indicators and processes is very helpful. Thanks for the question. Any others?
Well,
No.
Mary, I wanted to give you a shout out again for your years of experience. And again, to our manufacturing clients in particular, I think that many of them are seeing an increase in their activity, their business activity. Many of our clients are now starting to have to call people back and hire new employees. So really the first place to start would be to look at lean, either manufacturing or in the office. Because again, if you can improve your processes, you might be able to extend the time that you need to hire additional people. If you can take your existing processes in the office or in the manufacturing floor and really eliminate the waste, you'll be able to perhaps extend the time that you need to bring in additional people, right, Mary?
Yes, and some of the things that I've noticed, that as a company gets busier, they think they need more people, where they might need to streamline and put different people doing different work. And sometimes you just look at it and go, wait a minute, why is this person spending 15 minutes looking for a file in our cloud when we should have they use 10 documents all the time? Why don't we have a quick and easy way for them to get to them? There's just a lot of things, as well as oftentimes you can reduce turnover because people go, oh, I like my job. I like working here. And that can help as well. They also are able to then train any new employees more effectively.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Mary. It was a great presentation. We're certainly looking forward to receiving more information about the upcoming webinar. I'm super excited, I know that. And I know that many of our clients will be as well. I've got a list again here of the project managers. So if a client, again, has a project manager they're currently work with, we encourage them to reach out to their project manager. They can coordinate with Mary. If they don't have a project manager they're currently working with, we've got Mary's contact information right here. Feel free to contact her either via phone or via email, right, Mary?
Yes, yes. I really appreciate being able to help people do work. I think that they And as well as having just such a great team of coworkers, we coordinate well to solve your problems.
Fantastic. Thanks again, Mary.
I have one final question.
Oh, please, Linda.
How can Lean help reduce order entry errors when we receive multiple different purchase orders?
That is something that you would want to value stream map out what the process is. Try to get to the root of the problem of why are you getting multiple orders, and are they changes, and are you possibly putting them in too often? There's a lot of different areas, but I would definitely start looking at it from a value stream mapping perspective, and would love to help you with it.
Super. Thanks, Mary. Linda, thanks for your help today. And can you just give us a brief overview of the upcoming webinar on May 6th, I believe?
Yes, 2 weeks from today on May 6th, we have Tim Dean from the Coaching Dean. It's a really interesting topic. He first begins by talking about the diversity of the 5 generations working in workplaces right now, and then goes into discussing how to attract, develop, and retain millennials and Gen Z. And it's called From Conflict to Collaboration. So it's a really interesting topic that is applicable to every workplace right now.
Thanks so much, Linda. I'm super excited about that. I know a lot of our clients have challenges with multiple generations in an office or a shop floor. So really excited about that. You'll be sending out a flyer, correct?
Yes.
Registration. Super. Tom, I see you're still with us. Would you have a closing comment or two for us?
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Mary. This is such a great topic. I think our manufacturers are hard at work at improving their processes out on their manufacturing floor. And I think, having experienced this myself as a manufacturing executive, I've got the operation running clean, but it's the office sometimes that just holds things back. And so we can apply the same exact principles of making an efficient production floor into the office and be able to know where the business is, know how it's flowing, know exactly what's coming, be able to gauge quality of the amount of documents that are coming out, be able to reduce duplication of work. And so I'm really excited about this, and I'm looking forward to your webinar. And I really encourage everybody to think about, look at their schedule, see if they can attend that on the workshop in person. Mary is going to do a much deeper dive on this and how you can actually deploy Lean into your office process and really see some benefits. In addition, we all struggle with finding people right now and keeping people, right? And so this is a great time to just take some time to look at your process, see how you can improve it. And that'll help you with your team members to be able to direct your work that needs to get done to the right resources. So thanks so much, Mary. Thank you, Sean and Linda, for facilitating another great webinar.
All right, Tom, thanks so much. Mary, thank you. Linda,
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Linda, we'll be looking for that flyer. We can't wait.
All right.
All right. Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice day and happy
Thanks.
weekend.
Bye. Give me a call.